Suppose you could be an animal for one day. What would you pick?
An animal? Oh, that's hard. I know what I'd be. A whale.
I just put the mascara on. I don't give a fuck. Like I even put a bra on. People like when you look presentable. I didn't give a fuck. Okay. I'm a certain kind of way. Okay. Damn, y'all hear my stomach? I haven't eaten breakfast trying to do this shit. So we went to Phoenix and the intention was to go to a hip hop music festival. And this is all in between no sleep and partying. So I got tickets to this thing called Electric Desert, which is like a light show. It was like a light show in the desert, and it was at a botanical garden, and I love botanical gardens and plants, canyons and the desert and just rock formations and cactuses like crazy and just all this desert landscape and plants and all this cool shit. So it starts to kick in around the time that we get there. It was like becoming dusk. So just the sky looked crazy and all they had lights, like colorful lights on all the plants. They had like aloe and agave plants and like just mad cactuses you can see like on mountains like that are way in the back. It was just crazy the way it was set up. It was like being on another planet. We get there and we took an Uber there and I'm already feeling like, yes, like this is the best. I love this. I love life. Everything's great. Everything feels great. Everything looks amazing. This is just like the most fun time ever. Right around the time we get there, I feel like I'm vibrating. I just feel like I'm, I don't know, like a fucking UFO. And then the visuals, they're like geometric and like just fuzzy. Clearly you see reality, but you're also seeing these colors and shapes and all this shit. So like I'm looking at a cactus, but there's colors and shapes in front of the cactus and they're kind of like warping in and out. It's almost like having your own filter or like lens. It looks like visible energy. If you could see energy with your own eyes, that's what you would see on mushrooms. But nothing's tangible. Like obviously you can't don't be stupid and reach out for this shit. Like realize you're on mushrooms when you're on mushrooms. I feel like people don't ground themselves enough. And like I didn't need to ground myself. Like I never took mushrooms before. I just the kind of person that I am. I'm already grounded and I'm already guarded anyway. So it helps, but I also didn't put too much pressure on it, you know? Like I knew without knowing what's gonna happen. I didn't even ask anybody. Like I just don't do that. I experience things for myself the way I experience them. For the sounds, it's like if I were to describe the sounds, it's kind of like tuning in and out of frequencies. The beginning stages, everything felt right. Everything just felt like that's how it should be. I understood everything. Like I understood myself. I understood why I was there. Like, it was mind-blowing. Your brain makes these connections that you usually don't, like in your subconscious mind. Light show starts happening. It was like an immersive, just like light and sound show. Binaural beats. They were kind of like that. The music was, you know, warpy. I'm front and center, by the way. I didn't even give a fuck what I was with. Like, I was like, I need to experience this. This is like an experience of a lifetime. I was front and center. Even though there was little kids next to me, I was like, fuck you guys. Like, this shit's fucking crazy. You have no idea. We just wait till you're older, kid. I just remember being just kind of like, just mesmerized. I was like, wow, these cactuses look great. That shit's crazy. All these lights and these sounds. It was really just the experience. Like, they did a really good job with the whole sound system, with the fuck shit that they picked. I had videos, but you could see like I'm recording, but I'm kind of like I'm doing this. Being that stoned on multiple things and having all this shit in front of you, you're like a fucking moth. Like we get annoyed by moths. Like maybe they're just on like maybe they just eat this shit all the time because there's plants and berries and shit that grows on trees that you're not supposed to eat, and they eat that shit. I was like a moth that whole time on mushrooms. Just more of the visuals and sounds, the warped sense of sound and feeling like I'm vibrating. That's why they say vibrate on a higher level. You are literally vibrating higher on a different level of consciousness. Seeing the colors and the shapes come in, and hearing so many things, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like one of those movies where the person's going crazy and you hear all this shit. You hear all these voices in their head. It's like, it's not like that. At least it wasn't like that for me. Again, I don't know what the fuck you're doing if you have a bad mushroom trip. That has to be related to something else psychologically. You know, the mushrooms don't do that to you. If you ground yourself, you chill, like just be calm. It's hard for people to do that, but you just have to be secure within yourself to have a good trip. The mushrooms will go based off of like, they're gonna go based off of the mindset, the preset mindset that you have before you take it. So if you're freaking out and you're in a bad state and you're not comfortable with yourself or your surroundings, like you're gonna set yourself up for a bad trip. I felt like I could hear everything, but not in a bad way. Like it wasn't like voices are in your head and like just attacking you. It was in a good way. You could hear all the nuances of what's happening around you. Like you could just hear, it's like bionic hearing. And I have really good hearing. Maybe that's just me again, but like my senses in general, I feel like are advanced in a way. Like I feel everything. I understand a lot. I read between the lines a lot with things, and I don't know, I feel like my sense of understanding is complex. Nothing ever felt bad. Like people always talk about bad mushroom trips and shit. It's like, what are you doing with your life? Like there's the introspective way to take mushrooms and then just the non-introspective way. Like introspectively, when you take mushrooms, people say like, oh, just stay home, like sit in a dark room and be secure within your surroundings and all that. But it's like, before you take a mushroom, you know all this shit's gonna happen. So just keep that in mind. Like don't freak out then. If something crazy happens, realize you're on mushrooms still, like relax. It's crazy though. That shit was crazy. And it left me pretty sleepy and hungry afterwards. My second trip, the reason that we went to Phoenix in the first place was to go to this music festival. That shit was a blur. Again, that day was blunts on blunts on blunts, alcohol, the cartridges. I originally, before we went, because Jhené Aiko was there and I love Jhené Aiko. The reason we brought the mushrooms in the first place is because I wanted to trip while she was doing her set, to paint the picture just in front of the stage. Big ass screens with lights, there's carnival rides and all this shit is dusk. You can see the mountains. Oh my God, the mountains out west. I'm pretty much just tripping throughout the whole day. Long story short, there was a lot of waiting in between these sets because it wasn't like on precise schedule. In Phoenix, out west, over in the desert where the landscape is different and it's way more vast and open, it gets freezing at night. And I had no clue that this happened. It gets so cold at night in Phoenix. And I wasn't prepared for that. Again, I had on a crop top and shorts, bearskin, all that, because I dressed for the day. And the day was hot as fuck, right? Phoenix, hot. They had vendors, you know, selling whatever, like local people selling shit. So this one person was selling blankets. We ended up planting our asses on the ground because we were walking so much. There was so much walking that day. Music festivals, you just walk a bunch. I've been to a lot of concerts and music festivals. It's very tiring. We're sitting in the middle of the ground around everyone by a big ass tree. But it was at this time that it was the most memorable part of the trip, right? The most memorable part of the second trip, or at least the most memorable part of this day that I took the mushrooms, because apparently now that I'm remembering, there were several instances that I took that I was eating them. For example, being on the ground, I was literally munching on the mushrooms. And another thing, people tell you that they're nasty, the mushrooms are nasty, and they're just gross. I didn't think that at all. They tasted like sunflower seeds. I was literally just snagging on mushrooms throughout the day. Like it was no big deal. Like it was some fucking goldfish. And we're waiting in between sets because the main headliner was, I need water. The main headliner of the night was Lil Wayne. I hate being cold. I don't have cold. I'm just not cold. Like I'm cold emotionally sometimes. But even hot, I can be hot and be fine. I was born in the summer. Like my fucking heritage doesn't believe in being cold. Like we're from a tropical area. My view, you could see the main stage. We were way like far. Like we had to walk probably like, you know, a minute or two to get to the stage once he finally came on. But god damn, why is my nose so itchy? Fuck. Don't mind the fact that my nose is red right now. So this was the most memorable part of this trip because while I was snacking on these mushrooms, I'm looking out into the desert, these vast, just open, everything's open. Like where I'm from, I'm not used to openness. Everything's congested and just, it's city life, you know? And the landscape's different. Fucking whore, dude. Why is my nose so itchy? The fuck's wrong with you? Rudolph ass looking. This was the most memorable part of this trip because while I was looking out into the vast Arizona sky, what the fuck? Anyway, so I look out into the sky and what I'm seeing is, okay, so imagine like a vagina, right? So imagine like just like a elongated, just like oval in a way, but it was kind of pointy. It points it at the, god damn, why do I know so itchy? So I'm seeing this shape, right? And it's going from the highest point I could see to the lowest point I could see, which is a lot. It's the fucking sky, right? So I'm seeing this shape and it's blue. It's like a light blue. And I just see it warping in and out. Not just one shape, by the way. It's a whole geometric pattern. It's a whole geometric pattern. And there's more to just that shape. There's literally like a bunch of shapes and like equal, like mathematically correct shapes. That's why this shit is so real. The fractal universe, okay, that they talk about in spirituality and all this shit, the shit that people don't want to talk about that's real, it's real. I'm seeing all these shapes and then I also see a lotus. And that shit was crazy to me. I was like, I'm actually looking at a lotus plant in the sky. And what's even crazier about that is that I'm not the only one who's seen that. Because if you Google mushroom trips, a lot of people have accounts of seeing the seed of life, which is doing my research afterwards. I think that's what I saw. I saw the seed of life and I saw the lotus plant. Which are holy things and not holy in the sense of like religious Jesus realm. Don't think that way. The natural holy, like organic holy, okay? There are sacred things on earth. It has nothing to do with religion. Nature is sacred, whatever, okay? I'm seeing all these shapes in the desert sky. I see the fucking seed of life. I see a lotus. That shit's mind-blowing. And it's freezing. So it's crazy the total polar opposites of the spectrum of what I was experiencing and feeling. The spectrum I had was, goddamn, I'm freezing right now. Like I can't handle this. I need to leave. Like I wanted to go back to the Airbnb so quick. I was desperate to leave and stay. Like just the feelings. It was so much happening on top of being like crazy, just stoned and a little drunk. And there was other shit that was happening in the midst of all that was out of my control. Because the person I was with was dying as well, but in a different way. The cold was really throwing off the trip because I was fine. I was having a great time on this trip, but just the cold that I was not prepared for really threw it off. So this was a weird trip because of just the spectrum of experiences that I was having, because I was literally like freaking out inside of my body because I was cold. I was very grateful for those experiences, even if that crazy spectrum of life I was dealing with for it was supposed to be the second trip, but apparently I had like 4 at 10,000. It was a different experience from the botanical garden trip because of the wide spectrum of fucking emotions I was feeling ever since the beginning. Like ever since I first started tripping and I went through, you know, all this reevaluation of life and sense of self, and it makes you feel more organic, I guess. It makes you feel like you are a part of this grand scheme. It sounds corny, okay? It felt the way love feels, but in a different way. Your sense of self, your sense of life, and understanding all the things you know. If you're in a good spot mentally while you're on mushrooms, you're gonna feel all the euphoria that comes along with it. Not all the fucking despair all these crazy people are telling you about. Those are my mushroom experiences. Apparently I had 4 or 5. So yeah, overall for all experiences on mushrooms, they were amazing. I suggest if you're not cool, get cool. Prepare yourself mentally before you, like, I'm not gonna be insensitive. Like, I understand people go through their shit in their heads. You're about to take mushrooms. You're about to fucking transmit into a different universe. I don't like stupidity. I have my fun, but I've always been responsible. Like, if you have a certain tolerance, and I don't want to stress that too much, because like, if you don't want to smoke or drink or do anything, that's so completely normal. Like, don't worry about it. But for people who have the opportunities to do this shit, and who already have a, you know, secure sense of themselves and what they can handle and what, you know, what they experience and all that, yeah, you're on mushrooms and there's so much shit out of your control that's happening to you, but being your own physical body, like, you have the power to control your situation to a capacity. You shouldn't wander too far. Like, take it all in, but don't lose yourself. But take it all in. But also let it take its course. Let it show you what it's trying to show you. Let it do all this shit, but don't lose yourself. Like, just don't be dumb. There's some moments in life where just, despite whatever's happening, there are still some moments in life where things feel right. Like, everything's settled. Like, everything seems settled in the right places around you. You know what I mean? So that's the experience. Those are the experiences that I had the times that I took mushrooms. And you make all these connections to nature and like the actual organic life that's around you. All the plants, all the animals, the fucking wind. I'm like the real life Pocahontas, I swear. You tap into like another frequency of just more than what human life is, more than what we're taught, more than what we are told to believe is normal. Psychedelics help in that. Mushrooms help in that. They help literally open your eyes to the shit that's real that you can't see with your own 2 eyes when you're sober. It just opens up so many possibilities in your own mind, because like your mind, you don't even understand how complex and how much you're really capable of once you look past this facade of what we were taught, what we were conditioned to believe, how life should be, what life even is. It really opens up so many doors, and I'm gonna talk about that later on. And I remember feeling just grateful for the moment, grateful for who I was with, like the experience, like the even the opportunity that I had to do what I was doing, just like going to have fun in Phoenix. Like, I was grateful that I could even do that, and I was humbled by it all. Surreal, life altering, like, just senses. Like, it's like being in a fucking video game or some shit with cheat codes and all this shit. It was like living, breathing, personal art. Like, only art that you can see. Only art that you can see through the lenses of your own eyeballs and mind. They were placed on Earth, and they have all these capabilities and possibilities, like, for a reason. Why would this shit be there for no reason? Like, They're edible. They hold so much information. They hold so much information. If a human being or an animal takes that shit, you're gonna fucking transport into a different reality. We vibrate on different frequencies, all living things. We don't see things the same. That's why dogs have dog vision, cats have cat vision, bees see a certain kind of way. They see, I think, ultraviolet light. We're capable of doing that. We're capable of being able to see life and experience life more than what we are used to day to day, mundanely. Is that a word? So they're here on purpose, and they're here, you know, to experiment with, to heal with, because that shit helps with addiction. There's so much research and work being done now. It's crazy the direction that we're going in. And just to incorporate and normalize, we need to normalize this shit. Like, this shit's so taboo, and it's not. Like, this is earth. This is coming from nature and earth. Like, we're just now legalizing bud in the States. And look at all the people who are locked up for selling weed. Like, but now it's glorified, like, because the industry, the fucking, you know, corporate America, they have a hold of it now. So they're controlling it. They're controlling that, you know, aspect of it. So we're just now, you know, in this stage in life, we're finally opening our eyes to all the wonders that, you know, mushrooms have. He's a spider. No.